Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to do something, honestly, a little unusual. We're going to unpack a really profound philosophical insight, but we're going to do it using the incredibly precise, and let's be real, usually pretty dry, framework of actuarial science and risk management. We aren't just reading a famous quote today, we're essentially stress testing it. We're taking a piece of classic wisdom and running it right through the rigorous, data-driven world of risk to see how it holds up as a blueprint for handling life's uncertainties. So let's dive right into this incredible single sentence. It completely subverts how we traditionally model uncertainty. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. You know, it's an incredibly famous thought. You've probably heard it in graduation speeches or seen it in self-help books. But when you actually look at it through the lens of risk management, it's not just nice poetry. It is a radical recalculation of exactly where human beings should be directing their energy.
Here's how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll establish the ultimate risk model. Then, we'll analyze what lies behind, forecast what lies before, identify the unquantifiable human variable, learn how to hedge with inner resilience, and finally, look beyond the data.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the ultimate risk model. For decades, professionals in actuarial science have built incredibly complex models to quantify exactly what lies behind us and what lies before us. Actuarial science is, at its core, the math of predicting the future based on the past. It's exactly what insurance companies use to decide your premiums, and it's how financial institutions hedge against disaster. This is an entire industry built on the premise that if you just analyze enough historical data, what lies behind us, you can accurately predict and control future liabilities, what lies before us. But it's fascinating to watch how a risk professional evolves over time. In year one, a typical analyst has this complete, almost arrogant trust in historical data models. Fast forward to year 15, after living through wild market crashes and totally unpredictable world events, they start to recognize the extreme limits of forecasting. And by year 30, well, the true veterans of risk realize that algorithms ultimately fail. They realize that internal resilience, the ability to just absorb a shock and adapt, is really the only true constant in a chaotic universe.
That brings us to Section 2. Analyzing what lies behind.
The crucial point here is that human beings, much like those basic risk models, are absolutely obsessed with historical data. What lies behind us forms the foundation of almost every anxiety and identity we hold on to. Think about it. We look at our past mistakes, our past traumas, or even our past crowning achievements, and we let them entirely dictate our behavior today. We are constantly running a complete audit of our mental balance sheet. But when we actually audit what lies behind us, its major flaws as a predictive tool become super obvious. We severely over-index on past events, treating them as guarantees for the future, rather than the rigid, unchangeable sunk costs they actually are. In economics, a sunk cost is money that's already been spent and you literally cannot get it back. Your past is exactly the same thing. It creates hindsight bias, tricking us into thinking events were way more predictable than they were. By obsessing over what lies behind us, we misapply outdated data to our present, highly dynamic circumstances.
Okay, moving to Section 3. Forecasting what lies before.
And what lies before us? Man, we spend a massive amount of mental energy forecasting liabilities and trying to control things that haven't even happened yet. We build these elaborate 5-year plans, we worry constantly about economic shifts, our career trajectory, our health. We are essentially functioning as amateur actuaries, desperately trying to calculate the exact odds of our future happiness or failure. And if you think about it, the past is basically a locked database. You cannot edit it, period. The future, that's just a predictive model, which is a fancy way of saying it's a guess. Yet we spend, 90% of our mental bandwidth bouncing back and forth between these two unchangeable or unknowable domains, effectively completely ignoring the present moment. And here is exactly why spending all of our energy on the future is a terrible mathematical bet. We call it tail risk. No matter how much we fret about what lies before us, the future is fundamentally unknowable because of extreme, unmodeled variables. You can plan for every expected outcome, sure, but life is defined by black swans. Think of the 2008 financial crash, a sudden global health crisis, or a totally unexpected layoff that changes everything overnight. You simply cannot accurately model what lies before you.
Let's look at Section 4, the unquantifiable human variable. This brings us to the real core of it all, our tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Compared to the uncontrollable past and the highly unpredictable future, the internal human spirit is the ultimate unquantifiable asset. And listen, this isn't just an inspiring, feel-good sentiment. From a pure, hard-nosed risk management perspective, it is literally the most logical place to park your capital. Your inner fortitude, your adaptability, your moral compass. These are the actual assets that dictate how you will respond when the past haunts you or when the future completely surprises you.
If we chart this philosophy out, a highly optimized, resilient mind allocates maybe 10% of its energy to learning from the past, another 10% to practically planning for the future, and a massive 80% to the present cultivation of internal character. Because here's the secret. You don't beat uncertainty by out-predicting it. You beat it by being strong enough to handle whatever actually arrives at your door.
Which leads us to Section 5, hedging with inner resilience. So how do we actively apply this? We do it by treating our internal traits as direct hedges against external risks, proving that character is genuinely the best insurance policy we have. Let's say your external risk is a crushing past failure, well, your internal mitigant is self-forgiveness. If your future risk is a sudden economic downturn, your internal hedge is adaptability and a willingness to learn new skills. If it's an unpredictable crisis, the asset you draw upon is emotional fortitude. The external world throws the punch, but your internal world is what absorbs it. This gives us a highly actionable, practical 3-step playbook for risk-proofing your mindset. Step 1. Acknowledge historical data without being bound by it. Learn from what happened, and then shut the book. Step 2. Accept future uncertainty without anxiety. Seriously, stop trying to model every possible black swan event. And Step 3. Invest daily in your unquantifiable inner character. Read, reflect, build discipline, and nurture your relationships. Finally, Section 6. Beyond the data. You know, it can take 30 years of obsessively measuring the external world to realize that the most powerful force in the universe cannot be put into an algorithm. 30 years of staring at actuarial tables, risk matrices, and predictive software will ultimately teach you that human resilience is the single greatest variable in the entire equation of life. And ironically, it's the only one you can't strictly calculate. Ultimately, what lies within us completely dwarfs everything else on the timeline. When you look at individuals who survive extreme hardships, massive career collapses, or deep personal tragedies, their past advantages or their brilliant future plans are practically irrelevant compared to the towering strength of their inner resilience. That internal asset dictates their outcome far more than any external circumstance ever could. So I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder as you navigate your own risks. If your past is strictly unchangeable data and your future is merely a loose projection, how are you investing in the only thing that's real, tangible, and totally under your control right now? What lies within you? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep investing in that inner asset, and I'll catch you next time.